Only 3 minutes left. Archangel Michael reveals what God hid for you, chosen one. Stop scrolling. Do not skip this message, because if you found this video at this exact moment, then what is about to be revealed was not an accident. There is a reason your eyes landed here. There is a reason your heart feels strangely pulled toward these words. And there is a reason heaven has allowed this message to reach you now. Listen carefully. Archangel Michael is standing at the edge of a spiritual battle that has lasted far longer than you ever expected. And today, he carries a message that many will hear, but only a few are truly prepared to understand. The clock is moving, the season is changing, and spiritually speaking, there are only 3 minutes left before something hidden begins to reveal itself. Chosen one. For years you wondered why life seemed harder for you than for others. You watched people betray you. You watched opportunities disappear. You watched doors close without explanation. You prayed. You cried. You waited. And many nights you asked God a question that echoed through the silence. Why? Why was your journey filled with so many delays? Why did your blessing seem hidden while others received theirs openly? Why did every step forward seem followed by 2 steps back? What you could not see was that heaven had never abandoned you. In fact, the very delays that frustrated you were protecting something greater than you imagined. God was hiding a blessing so powerful that it could not be released until the perfect moment. And chosen one, that moment is now approaching. Archangel Michael says, the testing season is ending. Read those words again in your spirit. The testing season is ending. Not because your enemies suddenly became weaker, not because circumstances magically changed overnight, but because you passed the test. The test that most people fail, the test of patience, the test of faith without evidence, the test of trusting God when nothing made sense. Many people can believe when miracles are visible. Few can believe when everything appears impossible. Yet somehow, despite the pain, despite the confusion, despite the loneliness, you continued walking, you continued praying, you continued hoping, and heaven saw every moment. God saw every tear you wiped away when nobody else noticed. God saw every disappointment you carried in silence. God saw every night you felt broken but still whispered, Lord, I trust you. And now, the records of heaven are being opened. The pages of your suffering are not being ignored. They are being transformed. Because there is a divine law many people never understand. No sacrifice made in faith is ever wasted. No tear falls unnoticed. No act of obedience goes unrewarded. Every moment you endured was being collected. Every prayer was being stored. Every heartbreak was being recorded. And now those records are speaking on your behalf. Chosen one. There are people who looked at your struggles and assumed God had forgotten you. They mistook your silence for weakness. They mistook your waiting season for failure. They mistook your humility for defeat. But heaven saw something completely different, while others saw delay. God saw preparation, while others saw weakness. God saw refinement. While others saw suffering, God saw transformation. Because diamonds are not formed in comfort, gold is not purified without fire, and destinies are not prepared without testing. The pressure you experienced was never designed to destroy you. It was designed to reveal who you truly are. Archangel Michael says there were moments when unseen battles were taking place around you, battles you never knew existed. While you slept, angels were fighting. While you cried, heaven was moving pieces into place. While you questioned your future, God was protecting your destiny. There were attacks sent against you that never reached you. There were traps prepared for you that failed before they could activate. There were plans created to stop your purpose that were destroyed before you even became aware of them. You thought you survived by luck, but it was never luck. It was divine protection. It was grace. It was God's hand covering you when you could not see it. And now Archangel Michael stands before you with urgency. Because time is short. The season of hiding is ending. The season of revelation is beginning. Something you have waited for is closer than it appears. Something you almost gave up on is moving toward you right now. Something heaven has protected for years is preparing to emerge. Do not lose faith now. Do not surrender now. Do not walk away now, because people often quit moments before breakthrough arrives. They leave the battlefield just before victory. They stop praying just before the answer appears. They release faith just before the miracle manifests. And Archangel Michael says, "You are closer than you realize." Chosen one. The enemy wanted you exhausted. The enemy wanted you discouraged. The enemy wanted you convinced that nothing would ever change. Because if you knew what was coming, you would never doubt again. If you saw what heaven prepared for you, you would understand why the attacks became so intense. The size of the battle always reveals the size of the blessing. Small destinies face small resistance. Great destinies face great resistance. And the warfare around your life became severe because your reward is significant. This is why people misunderstood you. This is why isolation became part of your journey. This is why certain relationships disappeared. God was separating you from environments that could not go where He was taking you. At the time, it felt painful. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt like loss. But now heaven is revealing a deeper truth. Some people left because they were assignments, not destinations. Some doors closed because they were distractions, not opportunities. Some delays happened because they were protection, not punishment. Everything is beginning to make sense. The pieces are coming together. The answers are emerging. The hidden story behind your struggles is finally being revealed. And chosen one, this is only the beginning, because Archangel Michael says the next phase contains a revelation so powerful that many who doubted your journey will be left speechless. The same people who questioned your faith will witness God's faithfulness. The same people who underestimated you will see heaven's favor upon your life. The same voices that mocked your waiting season will become silent, because divine justice is approaching. Not revenge, justice. God does not need your enemies destroyed. He only needs the truth revealed. And when truth appears, darkness loses its power automatically. Continue listening carefully, because what heaven is about to reveal next may completely change the way you understand everything that happened in your life. The hidden blessing is closer than ever, and the countdown has already begun. The countdown has already begun, and chosen one. This is where many people become afraid, not because they fear failure, but because they fear hope. After carrying disappointment for so long, hope can feel dangerous. After years of waiting, believing again can feel risky. After countless delays, trusting one more promise can feel impossible. Yet Archangel Michael says, this is not the time to retreat into fear. This is the time to step forward in faith, because heaven is not speaking to you today by accident. The message reaching your spirit right now was appointed long before this moment arrived. God knew the exact day, the exact hour, the exact season, when your heart would need this reminder. And now that moment has come. Chosen one. There is something you must understand. Many people assume that when God prepares a blessing, He simply places it into someone's life, but heaven works differently. Before a blessing arrives, a vessel must be prepared. Before favor increases, character must increase. Before elevation comes, endurance must be proven. And that is exactly what your season was about. Every painful lesson, every unanswered question, every lonely night, every closed door, every betrayal, every disappointment, every battle, none of it was random. God was building a foundation strong enough to support the destiny He designed for you. Because the reward coming into your life is not ordinary, it is not temporary, it is not small, it is something that required preparation. Archangel Michael says, you thought you were being delayed. In reality, you were being developed. Let those words settle into your spirit. You were being developed. The enemy wanted you to interpret your waiting season as abandonment, but heaven calls it preparation. The enemy wanted you to see punishment. God saw training. The enemy wanted you to quit. God was strengthening you, and now the evidence is beginning to appear. Have you noticed something recently? A strange shift in the atmosphere? A feeling that something is changing? A sense that the old season can no longer continue? That feeling is not your imagination. That feeling is spiritual confirmation. Because when God prepares to move, He often sends signs before the manifestation arrives. The signs may seem small, subtle, easy to ignore, but they carry powerful meaning. You may have noticed old situations losing their grip on you. Things that once hurt deeply no longer control your emotions. People who once had power over your peace no longer affect you the same way. The wounds are healing. The chains are breaking. The burden is becoming lighter. This is not coincidence. It is evidence. Evidence that your spirit is stepping into a new dimension. Archangel Michael says the version of you that entered the storm is not the same version emerging from it. You have changed. You have grown. You have become stronger than you realize, and soon, the world around you will begin reflecting the transformation that already happened inside you. Chosen one. There are blessings that arrive suddenly, and then there are blessings that arrive after a long season of preparation. The second kind always carries greater impact, because when God waits, He multiplies. When God delays, He increases. When God prepares, He exceeds expectations. Think about it. If Joseph had become ruler too early, he would not have been ready. If David became king immediately, he would have lacked wisdom. If Esther stepped into her purpose before preparation, she would have missed her assignment. God understands timing better than anyone, and He understands your timing too. What felt late to you was right on schedule in heaven. What felt forgotten was carefully protected. What felt impossible was quietly developing behind the scenes. Archangel Michael says, the hidden blessing was never canceled. Hear that again. The hidden blessing was never canceled. Some of you believed your opportunity had expired. Some believed your dream was dead. Some believed your prayers had been rejected. But heaven says no. The promise remained alive even when you could not see it. The blessing remained protected even when circumstances suggested otherwise. God never changed His mind about you. People changed. Situations changed. Seasons changed. But God remained faithful, and because He remained faithful, your reward remains intact. Chosen one. The enemy understands something many people overlook. He knows he cannot stop God's purpose. So instead, he attempts to stop your belief in God's purpose. He attacks your confidence. He attacks your peace. He attacks your patience. He attacks your hope. Because if he can convince you to surrender before the breakthrough arrives, he wins a temporary victory. This is why the attacks intensified recently. This is why discouragement tried to settle over your mind. This is why exhaustion seemed heavier than usual. You were approaching a spiritual turning point. And whenever someone approaches a breakthrough, resistance increases, not because heaven is far away, but because heaven is near. The enemy does not panic when you are losing. The enemy panics when you are about to win. And chosen one, he is panicking now, because something has shifted, something has changed, something is moving. Archangel Michael says, the spiritual battle surrounding your life is entering its final phase. The outcome has already been determined. The verdict has already been written. The decision has already been made. Heaven has spoken, and what heaven declares cannot be overturned by earthly opposition. This is why you must remain focused. Do not become distracted now. Do not allow temporary emotions to steal permanent blessings. Do not allow frustration to sabotage your future, because the final moments of waiting often feel the longest. The final miles of the journey often feel the hardest, but they also bring you closest to the destination. Chosen one. There are people who hurt you, people who misunderstood you, people who betrayed your trust, people who spoke against you when you needed support, people who celebrated your struggles, people who secretly hoped you would fail, and for a long time, you wondered why God remained silent. You wondered why justice seemed delayed. You wondered why truth remained hidden. But Archangel Michael says, silence was never absence. God was not ignoring what happened. He was observing, recording, preparing, because divine justice does not operate according to human schedules. It operates according to divine timing, and when divine timing arrives, everything changes. The people who lied about you will face truth. The people who underestimated you will witness favor. The people who mocked your faith will see the evidence of God's hand. Not because God desires humiliation, but because truth deserves revelation. The truth about your heart, the truth about your journey, the truth about your faithfulness, the truth about your purpose. Everything hidden eventually comes into the light. And chosen one, the light is approaching. Archangel Michael says there is a chapter closing behind you. A chapter marked by confusion. A chapter marked by uncertainty. A chapter marked by tears. A chapter marked by waiting. The page is turning. The story is advancing. And the next chapter carries a different atmosphere. An atmosphere of restoration. An atmosphere of clarity. An atmosphere of breakthrough. An atmosphere of reward. You are not entering another season of endless struggle. You are entering a season where heaven begins revealing why the struggle existed. That explanation alone will heal wounds you carried for years. Because understanding changes everything. When purpose becomes visible, pain becomes meaningful. When answers arrive, confusion loses power. When God's plan becomes clear, fear disappears. And clarity is coming. Chosen one, Archangel Michael now reveals something that may surprise you. The blessing God prepared is bigger than what you requested. Much bigger. You prayed for relief. God prepared restoration. You prayed for provision. God prepared abundance. You prayed for survival. God prepared advancement. You prayed for a door. God prepared an entire pathway, because heaven often answers prayers on a greater level than expected. The blessing hidden for you was never limited to solving one problem. It was designed to transform an entire season. That is why preparation took so long. That is why protection was necessary. That is why patience was required. What God is releasing cannot be measured by ordinary standards, and this is where many chosen ones become emotional. Because after waiting for so long, it becomes difficult to imagine good things happening. The mind becomes accustomed to struggle. The heart becomes familiar with disappointment. The spirit grows tired from hoping. Yet Archangel Michael says, prepare your heart. Not for another battle, not for another delay, not for another disappointment. Prepare your heart for fulfillment. Prepare your heart for answered prayers. Prepare your heart for unexpected favor. Prepare your heart for restoration. Prepare your heart for evidence. Because evidence is coming. The things you believed by faith are preparing to become visible realities. The things you trusted God for are moving closer. The things hidden in the spiritual realm are beginning to manifest in the physical realm. And when they appear, you will finally understand why heaven asked you to wait. Chosen one. There is one final warning for this phase of the message. Do not allow bitterness to accompany you into your next season. Leave it behind. Leave the anger behind. Leave the resentment behind. Leave the desire for revenge behind. Because the future God prepared requires freedom. And bitterness is a chain. Forgiveness does not excuse what happened. Forgiveness releases you from carrying it. God is already handling justice. You do not need to carry that burden anymore. Your assignment is different. Your assignment is to keep moving forward, to keep believing, to keep trusting, to keep expecting. Because the hidden blessing is no longer hidden for much longer. The veil is lifting. The mystery is unfolding. This is only the beginning of the revelation. Chosen one. There is a moment in every divine story when heaven stops speaking in hints and begins speaking in clarity. A moment when mysteries become answers. A moment when confusion becomes understanding. A moment when the tears of yesterday suddenly make sense. And Archangel Michael says that moment is now drawing closer than ever before. For years you stood in places where you could not understand what God was doing. You saw pieces of the puzzle, but never the entire picture. You saw losses, you saw delays, you saw closed doors, You saw relationships ending. You saw opportunities disappear. And because you could only see a small portion of the story, there were times when your heart became weary. There were nights when you wondered if your prayers were reaching heaven at all. There were mornings when you woke up carrying burdens too heavy for words. There were seasons when even smiling felt difficult, yet despite everything, you stayed, you continued believing, you continued moving forward, you continued trusting God even when your emotions wanted to surrender. And that faithfulness has not gone unnoticed. Archangel Michael says heaven has been watching every step, every sacrifice, every act of obedience, every moment when you chose faith instead of fear, every moment when you chose prayer instead of bitterness, every moment when you chose hope instead of despair. The records of heaven are complete. Nothing was missed, nothing was forgotten, nothing was overlooked. Chosen one. What you are about to hear may change the way you view your entire journey. Because the blessing God hid from you was never simply a reward, it was protection. There were things you desperately wanted years ago, things you prayed for, things you cried over, things you believed would make your life complete. But had you received them then, they would have destroyed the future God planned for you. You could not see that. You could only see your disappointment, but God could see 10 years ahead. He could see dangers you never imagined. He could see betrayals you never expected. He could see traps hidden beneath opportunities. He could see false blessings disguised as miracles. And because He loved you, He said no, not forever, just not yet. Many of the doors that closed were not punishments. They were rescues. Many of the delays were not rejections. They were acts of divine mercy. Many of the relationships that ended were not losses. They were protections. Heaven was guarding your destiny while you were grieving what seemed lost. Archangel Michael says, if God showed you everything He prevented, you would spend days thanking Him. Think about that. The heartbreaks that saved you, the closed doors that protected you, the delays that preserved you, the unanswered prayers that redirected you, the disappointments that became divine interventions. One day you will see the entire picture, and when you do, your gratitude will outweigh every tear you ever cried. Chosen one. The enemy tried to convince you that your story was ending, but the truth is something very different. Your story was being rewritten. Every setback became setup. Every attack became preparation. Every obstacle became training. Every disappointment became part of the testimony God was building. And now the testimony is almost complete. The chapter of survival is ending. The chapter of manifestation is beginning. Archangel Michael says there is a spiritual shift taking place around you right now. Some of you can feel it. Others cannot explain it. But the atmosphere is changing. The heaviness is lifting. The resistance is weakening. The pressure is breaking. The darkness is losing ground. Because heaven has issued a command that cannot be reversed, a command that cannot be canceled, a command that cannot be delayed. The season of hiddenness is ending. The season of revelation is beginning. Chosen one, pay attention to what happens next, because signs are appearing, not random signs, divine signs. You may notice unexpected opportunities, unexpected conversations, unexpected favor, unexpected connections, unexpected peace, unexpected breakthroughs. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Heaven is sending signals ahead of the manifestation, just as lightning appears before thunder, just as dawn appears before sunrise, just as flowers bloom before harvest. Signs appear before fulfillment, and the signs are increasing. Archangel Michael says, do not ignore them. Many people pray for miracles but overlook the signs that miracles are approaching. Do not make that mistake. Stay aware. Stay grateful. Stay expectant. Because heaven is moving. Even when you cannot see every detail. Even when you do not understand every step. Even when answers seem incomplete. God is still moving. Chosen one. There is something your enemies never understood. They thought they were fighting you, but they were fighting the purpose God placed upon your life, and no one wins a battle against God's purpose. No one, not circumstances, not opposition, not betrayal, not darkness, not fear, not even time itself. Because what God ordains cannot be destroyed. It can be delayed, it can be challenged, it can be resisted, but it cannot be defeated. The purpose over your life survived every attack. It survived every betrayal. It survived every setback. It survived every storm. And now it is emerging stronger than ever. This is why Archangel Michael says your enemies are about to become silent, not because you will argue with them, not because you will defeat them in your own strength, but because God is about to speak through results. Results silence accusations. Results silence lies. Results silence doubt. Results silence mockery. Results silence opposition. The blessing itself will become the answer. The favor itself will become the explanation. The breakthrough itself will become the evidence, and there will be nothing left to argue about. Because when God moves, explanation becomes unnecessary. Everyone sees the difference. Everyone recognizes the change. Everyone notices the favor. Everyone witnesses the transformation. Chosen one, do not become distracted by those who misunderstood your journey. They only saw your struggle. God saw your future. They only saw your weakness. God saw your strength. They only saw your delay. God saw your preparation. The opinions of people were never the final authority over your life. God was, and God still is. This is why you must continue walking forward with confidence, not arrogance. Confidence. Confidence in God's faithfulness. Confidence in God's promises. Confidence in God's timing. Confidence in God's plan. Because heaven has never failed you. Even when it felt silent, even when it felt distant, even when it felt hidden, God remained faithful. And now that faithfulness is about to become visible, Archangel Michael says, the reward is closer than your fears want you to believe. Every day you are closer. Every prayer brings you closer. Every act of faith brings you closer. Every moment of trust brings you closer. The distance between you and your breakthrough is shrinking. The distance between you and your blessing is shrinking. The distance between you and your testimony is shrinking. Do not quit now. Do not stop now. Do not surrender now, because what is coming carries the fingerprints of heaven itself, and when it arrives, you will understand why every battle was worth fighting, why every prayer was worth praying, why every tear was worth crying, why every delay was worth enduring, because the hidden blessing was never ordinary. It was extraordinary. It was protected. It was prepared. It was preserved. And now, it is almost time for revelation, almost time for restoration, almost time for justice, almost time for fulfillment. The countdown continues, and heaven is closer than ever before. The countdown continues. Chosen one. Right now, there is a battle taking place that your physical eyes cannot see. A battle between what has been and what is about to be. A battle between the old season and the new season. A battle between fear and faith. A battle between delay and fulfillment. And Archangel Michael says the outcome has already been decided. Heaven has spoken. The decree has been released. The decision has been made. What remains is manifestation. This is why your spirit has felt restless recently. Not because something is wrong, but because something is changing. Deep within your soul, you can sense it. A shift, a movement, a transition. The old version of your life is losing its hold. The old chapter is coming to an end. The old limitations are breaking apart. And the new season is preparing to emerge. Chosen one. There is a reason the attacks became stronger before this moment. There is a reason discouragement tried to overwhelm you. There is a reason the enemy worked so hard to make you doubt yourself. Because darkness always reacts when light is approaching. The closer dawn comes, the more desperate the night becomes. The closer breakthrough comes, the more resistance appears. The closer victory comes, the the louder fear tries to speak. Yet fear is not a prophet. Fear does not know your future. Fear only repeats possibilities. God speaks realities, and heaven's reality is greater than every fear you have carried. Archangel Michael says, "Do not measure your future by your current circumstances." Many chosen ones make this mistake. They look at today's struggle and assume tomorrow will look the same. They look at present difficulties and assume nothing will change. They look at temporary delays and assume permanent defeat. But heaven never measures destiny according to present circumstances. God measures destiny according to purpose, and your purpose remains intact. Your calling remains intact. Your assignment remains intact. Your blessing remains intact. Nothing the enemy attempted was powerful enough to destroy what God designed. Nothing. Not betrayal, not rejection, not financial hardship, not loneliness, not disappointment, not spiritual warfare. Nothing. Because God's plans are stronger than every attack. Chosen one. There are people who secretly expected your story to end differently. They thought your faith would collapse. They thought your hope would disappear. They thought your spirit would break. They thought you would eventually surrender. But they underestimated something. They underestimated the God who walks with you. They underestimated the strength heaven placed inside you. They underestimated the prayers spoken over your life. They underestimated divine protection. And because they underestimated God, they misjudged your future. Archangel Michael says there are individuals who will soon witness changes they never expected, not because you are trying to prove something, but because God's favor cannot remain hidden forever. Favor eventually becomes visible. Purpose eventually becomes visible. Blessing eventually becomes visible. Truth eventually becomes visible. And your season of visibility is approaching. For too long, your growth happened in secret. For too long, your preparation happened behind the scenes. For too long, your tears fell where nobody could see them. For too long, your victories remained unnoticed. But heaven says, the hidden season is ending. Think about a seed. When planted beneath the soil, nobody celebrates it. Nobody notices it. Nobody applauds it. From the outside, it appears invisible. Yet beneath the surface, transformation is happening. Growth is happening. Preparation is happening. Development is happening. And eventually, the day comes when what was hidden begins to emerge. The same is true for you. Your roots have grown deep. Your faith has grown strong. Your character has matured. Your spirit has developed. Now emergence is approaching. Chosen one. The blessing God prepared is not limited to one area of your life. This is important to understand. Many people expect a single answer, a single breakthrough, a single blessing. But Archangel Michael says heaven has been preparing restoration on multiple levels. Some will experience emotional healing. Some will experience financial restoration. Some will experience spiritual renewal. Some will experience relational breakthroughs. Some will experience opportunities they never imagined. Some will experience peace they have not felt in years. The form may differ, but the source remains the same. God. The same God who carried you through the valley. The same God who protected you through the storm. The same God who sustained you during the waiting season. That same God is preparing the reward. And because the source is divine, the result will exceed human expectations. Chosen one. Do not allow impatience to steal your peace now. The temptation to become frustrated often increases near breakthrough. People become tired. People become weary. People become discouraged. And that discouragement causes them to focus on what has not happened instead of what is happening. Do not fall into that trap. Look carefully. You have already changed. You are already stronger. You are already wiser. You are already closer. You are already different from the person who entered the battle. The miracle did not begin when circumstances changed. The miracle began when God transformed you. Everything else is simply catching up. Archangel Michael says, the greatest evidence of God's work is who you have become. Years ago, some situations would have destroyed your peace. Today, they do not. Years ago, certain betrayals would have broken your spirit. Today, they do not. Years ago, certain obstacles would have stopped your progress. Today, they do not. Because you have grown. You have matured. You have evolved through God's refining process. And now, heaven is preparing to match your external reality with your internal growth. That is when acceleration begins. Chosen one. A remarkable shift occurs when God decides the waiting season has fulfilled its purpose. Things that once moved slowly begin moving quickly. Doors begin opening. Connections begin forming. Answers begin appearing. Favor begins increasing. Momentum begins building, not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because divine timing has arrived. Archangel Michael says some of you are about to witness acceleration. Events that seemed impossible for years will suddenly begin unfolding. Situations that remained frozen will begin moving. Answers that seemed delayed will begin arriving. And people around you will wonder how everything changed so quickly. What they will not understand is that heaven was preparing for years behind the scenes. The manifestation appears sudden. The preparation was not. God has been working longer than anyone realizes. Chosen one. You have cried enough tears. You have carried enough burdens. You have survived enough storms. You have endured enough battles. The season ahead carries a different assignment. The assignment is no longer survival. The assignment is receiving peace, receiving restoration, receiving clarity, receiving blessing, receiving favor, receiving confirmation, receiving evidence of God's faithfulness. Many chosen ones struggle with this transition. After surviving hardship for so long, receiving blessing can feel unfamiliar. Sometimes people become more comfortable expecting disappointment than expecting favor. But Archangel Michael says, open your heart. Open your heart to possibility. Open your heart to restoration. Open your heart to abundance. Open your heart to joy. Open your heart to hope. Because heaven is not asking you to prepare for loss. Heaven is asking you to prepare for fulfillment. Chosen one. The next chapter of your story will carry a testimony that inspires others. People who are currently struggling will look at your journey and find hope. People who are currently waiting will look at your story and find encouragement. People who are currently hurting will see proof that God remains faithful. This is one reason your battle was so intense. Your breakthrough was never only about you. Your testimony was meant to become a light for others, and lights must shine. They cannot remain hidden forever. Archangel Michael says, the reward is not only for your comfort, it is also for your purpose. God intends to use your story. God intends to use your testimony. God intends to use your faithfulness. Because someone else needs to know that perseverance matters. Someone else needs to know that waiting is not wasting. Someone else needs to know that God's promises remain true. And your life will become evidence. The evidence that faith works. The evidence that God provides. The evidence that heaven remembers. The evidence that divine timing never fails. Chosen one. As this revelation continues, one message becomes clearer than ever. You were never forgotten. Not for a single day, not for a single moment, not for a single second. Even during the darkest nights, even during the deepest valleys, even during the hardest battles, God remained present. God remained aware. God remained faithful. And now, the season of revelation continues to unfold. The hidden blessing moves closer. The promise moves closer. The justice moves closer. The breakthrough moves closer. And Archangel Michael stands as a witness to what heaven has already declared. Your waiting season is ending. Your testimony is beginning. And the greatest chapters of your story have not yet been written.